order has also triggered some political disorder, because there is that claim that this executive order came to clip Deputy President William Ruto's powers. In fact, there are some guys who say amepigwa wembe kimpango. Amepigwa wembe kweli? Linus?
No doubt. You see, state power is exercised by people. Sometimes it's directly by the president and is represented, it could be by the deputy president. So for someone to gain power like Fred Mating'i did, it must have come from somewhere. Somebody must have lost that. And it's generally interpreted that the deputy president has taken a heavy blow on in these changes, because essentially the president has created a different line, sort of a bypass. He's using the southern bypass. He's saying, I'm not using the Uhuru highway to achieve the 4. I would like to use someone else and not the deputy president. In my own view, this was coming because of the kind of conversations that came after the contested election. We saw that the team of politicians and allies of the deputy president immediately embarked on a campaign for 2022. And 2, the president was talking about his legacy. So this is a contest between the president's legacy and the deputy president's ambition. And in a contest of this kind, one side will definitely lose. Yeah. And in this case, it looks to me that the deputy president is on the losing end at the moment.
But let me take you quickly to Article 147 of the Constitution. Functions of the deputy president. The deputy president shall be the principal assistant to the president and shall deputize for the president in the execution of the president's functions. The deputy president shall perform the functions conferred by this constitution and any other functions of the president as the president may assign. What functions have been taken away and given to Mating'i?
I think we have become hysterical about this thing simply because there has been a notion in this country about the presidency somehow involving those two people. I mean, it is true, without a doubt, that they ran as a ticket. There was one on the top of the ticket, the other at the bottom of the ticket. But once that process was over, there has only been one president. And I think that notion began when, for instance, the president announced the first cabinet after the election in 2013, and they were all there. I mean, everybody was there, and the two of them wearing the same sort of shirts and ties and that sort of thing, and holding hands. And so they fed this narrative that was there, that somehow they were a co-presidency. And for that reason, people expected that every little thing the president did, the deputy president needed to be somewhere there, needed to say something, needed to have a voice in what the president was saying. But I think that this is the clearest indication that there has never, ever been a co-presidency. There was not meant to be one. And if, for instance, we had that political construct that gave the impression that we had that, I think the executive order basically just said, hey, there is one president, he's going to do what he thinks he needs to do. And I think that the fact that that notion had been fed, and there is a certain political expectation that the deputy president's base has, that some people in the country have about the deputy president somehow holding a role that is bigger than what the constitution assigns him, I think that that is a danger, because now there is a perception that something has been taken away from him, while in actual fact there isn't any clear role that the constitution assigns to the president other than such as may be given to him by the president. So whatever
and
powers,
actually, Joe,
yeah,
the Constitution of 2010 changed nothing about the office of the deputy president. It used to be the office of the vice president. Changed that to deputy president. The only thing that really changed is how the deputy president assumes office
and how he cannot be sacked.
Yes, and how he can be exited. Because in the old times, the deputy president was serves at the pleasure of the president. This one is an elected deputy president, serves in the same ticket. But what the Constitution did not do is to separate the powers of the president from those of the deputy president, making the deputy president, just like in the old days, serve really at the pleasure of the president. And that is what is happening right now. What has happened, in my view, is a clash over the legacy and ambitions. It's a clash between the legacy of the president and the ambition of the deputy president. And then the deputy president critically missed a signal. His political radar missed something. When the president spoke of Kijana Anatangatanga, I think that was the moment to actually look at it. What is he saying? Don't convert it to a political slogan and then the allies started going around calling themselves Tanga Tanga Squad. I think there was an element of irritation on the part of the president that, come on, we've just completed an election, we just won an election last year, we have some work to do, there's a legacy I have to deliver, I'm leaving office in a few years, but here you are with half the government, basically running a campaign 4 or 5 years
Jamila,
early.
hold on, Jamila.
Yes.
Show me one thing different from what the deputy president and his team are doing now, 2017 to 2022, that probably they didn't do 2013 to 2017, because the same campaign mode is the same campaign mode probably they have activated now. And one would say maybe
it's because it's the president's last
that
job.
succession, as the Linus is talking about, the president is facing legacy, the deputy president is facing succession.
Yes.
So it's like they're not facing each other.
Opposite directions, yes.
I think you've answered the question that they're not facing each other. They both have different agendas in mind. The president is thinking legacy, I need to leave something, I need to be remembered by something. And the deputy president is thinking succession. I need to, unajua deni, unajua lile deni ambalo that everyone keeps talking about, that he's set in his mind that this is the direction I need to take the presidency in 2022. But when you look at the constitution, you mentioned the constitution, Linus, and I'll talk about it again, about what the president did with the executive order. It was not unlawful. The president can do this without any public participation. It is there in the constitution, is allowed to do it. But when you look at Article 152.5, the president may reassign a cabinet secretary. The president, Article 153.2 says cabinet secretaries are accountable individually and collectively to the president for the excess of their powers and the performance of their functions. So the president was okay in his prerogative by appointing Mating'i to this. So the argument that is going around the country that it was unconstitutional does not hold any water. There are many committees, subcommittees, technical working groups. The president has not expanded the number of CSs. So I think this is just a lot of noise for nothing.
But there is a political anxiety, if you like, from different people. I mean, we have seen all manner of subliminal messages being sent by supporters of the deputy president, some of them very sarcastic. If you look at what Oscar Sudi, for example, was tweeting about, if you look at Murkomen's was kind of, I think, in a certain way, tongue-in-cheek. I mean, he said, oh yeah, congratulations. Why do you congratulate the president for just
and then
doing
he tags William Ruto in the tag.
his job. So I think there's a sense in which the supporters of the deputy president are sending all these subliminal messages that say, hey, we see what you're doing, we see what you're trying to do, let's see where this goes. Because Oscar Studi says, well, in this spirit, now you can also appoint your elder brother into all of these things, saying, you know, if it means that you can really just be expanding the government the way you want, why don't you give even Raila and whoever it is? And I think that is to say that there is a sense in which this is not going down well in the deputy president's camp. But look at what he's done. He's saying, well, you know, let's support the president's order and that sort of thing. Sort of trying to calm his troops. But I think there's a sense in which even he knows that his base is a bit resting right now.
Linus, I peeped into a discussion between some members of parliament in a WhatsApp group. And they were saying that this executive order and a few other things that have happened, some statements that have been made by other leaders, for example, David Murada, the vice chairman of, the former vice chairman of Jubilee, is an attempt to poke the deputy president, to throw a tantrum and trigger a reaction, and that they're advising him not to do that, so that also he continues to get to, you know, to ride on the sympathy that he gets when he plays victim. Today, he was in his office meeting religious leaders from Pefa Church, and he spoke about a totally different matter other than what currently the country is engaging in.
Look, the deputy president is a political schemer. And I think what is happening will test his skills politically. Because going back to what David Murada did, in military terms, what he basically did was to carry out a torpedo attack on the ship that is Jubilee, poke a hole in the bottom of the ship and show the deputy president some water. And then just that basically, look, we don't need a ship. we win elections using inflatable vessels. You don't need a whole ship that called Jubilee. And he started talking about new formations. This was very, very telling. I think it'll be important that the action by Murathe is factored into the whole context. These things have not happened in isolation. There is a clear countdown. After Murathe, you remember the number of press conferences, including a lot of leaders coming out and defending the president, including some that were political rivals in the past. But Francis, I think what is also happening is we are seeing the president avoiding or fighting that second-term syndrome called lame duck presidency. It's a very, very dangerous term for politicians, because lame duck presidency basically means you are almost ceremonial.
You're there, but you're not there.
Yes. And just by one executive order, he's actually created a lame duck DP, because he's politically injured in terms of roles within government as well. I saw a joke on one of those subgroups today saying, oh, so how would cabinet ministers react when they get a call from the deputy president and one from Francis Mating'i? Which one would they respond
Someone
to very quickly?
Who's close to the DP circles says as follows: the reasons for appointing CS Mating'i. Number one, failure in the presidential delivery unit on marketing the Big Four, thus making the Big Four a mystery to the common man to date. Then number two, weak CSs who can't secure a good legacy for HE. They need a prefect. Number three, re-engineering the provincial administration. They had no role in law. This is giving them more duties. And finally, this is the kicker. That's not original. William Ruto is deputy to the president, which means they will supervise Mating'i.
Oh. Oh, wow. Something that has been said there, not this last one, the kicker, not original, is about how we need to look at the Kenyans here. They're tired about a bloated cabinet. They're tired about a corruption-laden public service. They're tired about slow-moving projects that are not bearing any fruit. And I think for them, they're looking at this not in terms of the DP's powers have been cut away. They're looking in terms of we have someone now who will be able to deliver. I think that's what is going through people's minds. And I think for them, it's not really the political angle. Yes, the politics is there. It's important. Kenyans, we eat, sleep, and drink politics. But I think for a lot of people who, for the past few years, who are tired of seeing the stories about corruption, who are tired about seeing billions being lost, who are not seeing projects being implemented, who know we have a lot, we're paying, our wage bill is a lot because of the number of people we have to pay in the public service. I think for them, they feel that the president is making a move in terms of getting things done. And of course, the legacy thing is important. Yes, the agendas need to be seen to completion. But I think for them, that's how they're looking at it. This guy will get things done. He's proven it before, and he's going to do it again.
But Joe, look, the Big Four agenda, very many people still don't seem to understand it. In fact, there's also an argument that it is also very ambitious. It's like the president may have bitten more than he could chew. Look, the Big Four, one of the agendas, housing, when it was just about to be launched, guys went to court. So there's a lull there. Manufacturing, not yet.
Nothing yet, yeah.
Universal healthcare, still a struggle. So probably the attempt to bring somebody who can enforce it, bearing in mind that after this 2018-2019 budget, the president will have about 2 more budgets to go before he exits. Is it possible to do these 4 big things within these 3 budgets and successfully so?
Well, that is why he probably goes for someone like Mating'i, but you have to remember that it doesn't make the DP look very good, because remember, the DP has been going around the country. He's saying he has ni mtu wa mkono of the president. What does that mean? Mtu wa mkono means that he's someone who enforces, who implements, who does what this whoever is behind them is saying. All right. So if he says he's actually mtu wa mkono of the president, then we'd be asking mtu wa mkono kufanya nini if up to now the big four is not on everyone's lips. So I think that is a question probably that is being asked within government circles. Either he was not mtu wa mkono or anyone, or perhaps something just didn't work with this whole big four.
Joseph, Francis and Linus, we have to take a break. We'll be back with more News Gang continues shortly. Stay tuned.